To our amazing viewers at Cheating Tales Lab, we'd love to hear which part of the world are you joining us from. Let us know. Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1. The Return. Mitch Farrell's boots hit American soil for the first time in 11 months, but the weight on his shoulders felt heavier than when he'd left. The C-17 transport's engines whined down at Joint Base Lewis McChord as Washington rain pelted the tarmac. Around him, soldiers embraced families who'd waited behind yellow barriers, children squealing with joy, wives crying with relief. Mitch scanned the crowd for his own family, his 7-year-old son, his wife Cheryl, but found only empty space where they should have been. He checked his phone. 3 missed calls from Cheryl over the past week, but when he tried calling back through the spotty base connection in Afghanistan, she never answered. Their marriage had been fracturing for years, stress lines spreading like cracks in ice. She'd wanted him to leave the Army, to take some desk job that kept him home. He'd wanted her to understand that some men were built to serve, to protect, to stand between chaos and the innocent. Farrell, Sergeant Ian Ewing clapped him on the shoulder. Your ride not show? Guess not. Mitch kept his voice even. Ian had served 2 tours with him, knew him well enough to hear what wasn't being said. Want me to give you a lift? I'm heading through Tacoma. Appreciate it, but I'll grab a rental. Need to make a stop first. The stop was a small storage unit off I-5, one Cheryl didn't know about. Inside waited a go bag he'd prepared before this deployment. Cash, documents, a Glock 19 he'd purchased legally 3 years ago. Mitch had learned in Kandahar that you always kept an exit strategy, always maintained operational security. He never thought he'd need it for his own family. His home in Federal Way sat in a cul-de-sac of identical 2-story houses, American flags and minivans, the suburban dream. Except his driveway held an unfamiliar black Dodge Charger with custom rims and a sound system he could hear thumping from the street. Cheryl's Honda was there too, covered in a week's worth of pine needles. Mitch's jaw tightened. He'd been sleeping in desert dust, dodging Taliban bullets, while someone made themselves comfortable in his house. He tried a front door locked. His key still worked. Inside, the house smelled wrong. Cigarette smoke, cheap cologne, and something else. Neglect. Dishes piled in the sink, mail scattered across the counter, his son's backpack thrown in a corner covered in dust. Cheryl. His voice echoed through the empty first floor. Upstairs, he heard a toilet flush, then heavy footsteps. A man appeared at the top of the stairs. Late 30s, gym rat, build going soft, wearing Mitch's own bathrobe. Carlton Mercer had the look of someone who peaked in high school and spent the rest of his life trying to recapture it. Tribal tattoos, gold chain, the kind of swagger that came from never facing real consequences. Who the fuck are you? Carlton demanded. I live here. Where's my son? Mitch kept his voice level, professional. He'd interrogated Taliban commanders with less effort than it took not to put this man through the staircase railing. Oh shit, you're the Army guy. Carlton laughed, not moving from the top of the stairs. Cheryl didn't mention you were coming back today. She's at work, man. And your kid. He shrugged. Around somewhere. Where? Look, G.I. Joe. Maybe you should call first before showing up. This is awkward, right? You do your thing, protect America, whatever. But Cheryl needed someone actually here. Someone who doesn't abandon his family for months. Mitch's hands clenched. Where's my son? Probably at a friend's house. Kid's always running off. Not my responsibility to babysit while his mom works. Every instinct Mitch had developed over a decade of military service started screaming. Carlton's body language was wrong. Defensive, hiding something. The house was too quiet. And where was his son's laugh, his toys, any sign of life? Get out of my house. Carlton smirked. Not your house anymore, brother. Cheryl said you signed the papers. She's moving on. Maybe you should too. I signed deployment papers. Not divorce papers. Mitch pulled out his phone. I'm calling the police. For what? Some dude dating your ex? That's not illegal, soldier boy. Mitch dialed Cheryl's number. It rang 5 times, then voicemail. He tried again. Nothing. Something was very wrong. He walked past Carlton into his son's room. The bed was made, untouched for days. Toys sat in perfect rows, gathering dust. The window blind was drawn, the room dim and stale. When did you last see my son? Mitch turned to find Carlton lounging in the doorway. I don't know, man. Yesterday? 2 days ago. Kids are like cats. They disappear, then they come back when they're hungry. He's 7 years old. Carlton pushed off the doorframe. Look, I don't know what Cheryl told you, but she needed help. Bills, the house, dealing with a kid who wouldn't shut up about his daddy. I stepped up. So maybe show some gratitude instead of coming back here, trying to alpha male your way back into a life you abandoned. Mitch was down the stairs before Carlton could react. He checked the garage. Cheryl's Honda wouldn't start, battery dead. The fridge held beer and takeout containers, nothing a child would eat. No school artwork on the fridge. No signs of life. Then he heard it, faint from somewhere below, a sound that made his blood freeze. Crying. The basement door was padlocked from the outside. Chapter 2. The Discovery. Mitch stared at the padlock like it was an IED. In 12 years of military service, 2 tours in Iraq, 2 in Afghanistan, operations in 3 other countries he couldn't legally discuss, he never felt fear like this. Not for himself. For his son. Why is this locked? His voice came out dead calm. The same tone he'd used before ordering strikes on enemy positions. Carlton had followed him downstairs. Cheryl probably locked it. The basement floods. Mold problem. Don't want the kid going down there. The crying came again. Weaker this time. A child's voice, hoarse and broken. Daddy. Mitch had the Glock out before conscious thought. Open it. Whoa, man. What the fuck? Carlton backed up, hands raised. You can't just. Open it now. I don't have the key. Cheryl has it. Mitch fired once. The lock shattered, pieces ricocheting off concrete. The door swung open on rusted hinges. The smell hit him first, rot, human waste, something chemical and wrong. No light except what filtered down from the kitchen. He found the switch. A single bare bulb illuminated hell. The basement had been turned into something between a prison and a torture chamber. A sleeping bag in the corner, surrounded by empty water bottles. A plastic bucket. Mitch didn't look too closely at what it contained. And in the far corner, chained to an exposed pipe by a length of rusted chain that was too short for him to reach the stairs, was his son. 7-year-old Dwight Farrell looked like something from a war crime photograph. His clothes were filthy rags. His arms and legs were covered in scratches, some fresh, some infected. Rat droppings scattered the floor around him. His lips were cracked and bleeding. But his eyes, God, his eyes still lit up when he saw Mitch. Daddy, Dwight whispered. You came back. Mitch was across the basement in 3 strides. The chain was secured with another padlock. He shot off, not caring about ricochets. His son collapsed into his arms, weighing nothing, ribs visible through his shirt. I've got you. I've got you now. You're safe. Mitch lifted Dwight gently, horrified at how light he was. What happened? Who did this? Carlton, Dwight whispered. He said Mom didn't want me anymore. Said I was too loud. He brought me down here after you left. Said if I made noise, the rats would get me. He made me drink something from that bucket. He said it was rat poison. He said if I tried to escape, I'd die anyway. Mitch looked at the bucket. Liquid at the bottom, rust-colored, probably filthy water mixed with God knows what. Carlton had been psychologically torturing a 7-year-old child. How long? How long have you been down here? I don't know. He brought food sometimes. Water. But then he stopped. I tried calling for help, but he said Mom knew. He said she agreed, that she wanted me gone so she could be happy. Mitch carried his son up the stairs. Carlton had vanished, probably ran when the shooting started. Mitch laid Dwight on the couch, wrapping him in clean blankets, checking his injuries. The scratches looked like rat bites. Some were infected. His son was severely dehydrated, malnourished, and showing signs of poisoning, labored breathing, dilated pupils. He called 911. This is Mitch Farrell, 2847 Pine Ridge Drive, Federal Way. I need an ambulance immediately. My 7-year-old son has been imprisoned and poisoned. Possible rat bites, chemical ingestion, severe dehydration. The dispatcher kept him on the line. Mitch held his son, whispering promises he intended to keep. The ambulance arrived in 6 minutes. Paramedics swarmed Dwight, hooking up IVs, checking vitals, loading him onto a stretcher. Sir, are you the father? A female paramedic, name tag reading Grace Weeks, looked at him with professional concern. Can you tell us what happened? I just returned from military deployment overseas. I found him chained in the basement. He says he was forced to drink contaminated water, possibly rat poison. He's been down there for days, maybe longer. Grace's face hardened. We're taking him to St. Francis. Police are being notified. This is a crime scene now. Federal Way police arrived as the ambulance pulled away. Mitch met them at the door, two officers, one veteran detective named Antonio Butler, who'd seen too much to be surprised by anything. Mr. Farrell? I'm Detective Butler. I need you to tell me everything. Mitch did. Every detail. The locked basement. The chains. Dwight's condition. Carlton Mercer's presence in his home. The black Dodge Charger. And where is Mr. Mercer now? He ran when I fired the weapon to break the locks. I have a concealed carry permit. I can provide documentation. Butler nodded. We'll need that weapon for evidence. And I need you to not touch anything in that basement. Where's your wife? I don't know. She didn't pick me up from base. Haven't spoken to her in a week. Butler's radio crackled. He stepped away, spoke quietly, then returned with a different look on his face. Mr. Farrell, I need to inform you that we're treating this as attempted murder and felony child abuse. We're issuing a warrant for Carlton Mercer's arrest. I'm also going to need to speak with your wife. So, am I, detective? Let us handle this professionally. I understand you're special forces. Army Ranger, but not active duty anymore. Even so, you've been trained to handle extreme situations. Don't become a situation yourself. Let the system work. Mitch nodded, but they both knew it was a lie. The system was already failing. His son had been tortured in his own home for months, and nobody had noticed. No teachers, no neighbors, no wellness checks. The system had failed. Mitch wouldn't. Chapter 3. The Investigation. St. Francis Hospital, Pediatric ICU. Dwight lay in a bed surrounded by machines that beeped and hummed. IVs feeding him fluids and antibiotics. The doctor said he'd survive barely. Another 2 days, and the dehydration alone could have killed him. The infections from the rat bites required aggressive antibiotic treatment. The poison Carlton made him drink was actually rust-contaminated water mixed with cleaning chemicals, causing chemical burns in his throat and stomach lining. Mitch sat beside the bed, holding his son's hand, memorizing every shallow breath. A child psychologist had already been by, speaking in soft tones about trauma and PTSD and long-term therapy. Mitch listened, nodded, promised anything. But in his mind, he was making a different kind of plans. His phone buzzed. Cheryl. Mitch? Oh my God, Mitch, the police called me. They said Dwight is in the hospital? What happened? And they're saying Carlton. Where are you? Silence. Then, I'm at work. At the restaurant. What's going on? Our son was chained in our basement for months. Tortured. Starved. Bitten by rats. Your boyfriend made him drink poison. What? No. Carlton wouldn't. Mitch, that's insane. Dwight's been staying with my sister in Spokane. He's been fine. Stop lying. Mitch's voice could have cut steel. I found him myself. I carried him out of that basement. He told me everything. Another pause. When Cheryl spoke again, her voice had changed. Defensive. Guilty. I didn't know it was that bad. Carlton said he was just keeping Dwight downstairs when he got out of control. The kid was acting up, always crying about you, disrupting everything. Carlton was trying to discipline him. He chained our child in a basement like an animal. I didn't know about the chain. Carlton said he'd locked the door a few times to teach him a lesson, but I didn't know. You knew. Mitch felt something cold settle into his chest. A certainty. You had to know. You have the key to that padlock. You heard him crying. You walked past that door every day. I was working double shifts. I was trying to keep the house. While you were playing soldier overseas, I had bills, stress, a child who wouldn't shut up about his absent father. So you let your boyfriend torture him. I didn't know it was that bad. Cheryl was crying now. Carlton said he had it under control. That Dwight just needed firm discipline. I thought he was just in timeout. I didn't go down there. Carlton said not to undermine his authority. That I was too soft. That's why Dwight was so difficult. Mitch closed his eyes. You chose him over our son. I chose someone who was actually there. You're never here, Mitch. You love the Army more than your family. So yes, when Carlton offered to help, when he moved in and fixed things and paid attention to me, I let him. And maybe he went too far with discipline, but that's not. Attempted murder, Cheryl. Felony child abuse. That's what the detective called it. You're an accessory. The line went dead. Detective Butler arrived 20 minutes later. Behind him walked a woman in a sharp suit, District Attorney Faith Logan, who'd built her career on high-profile child abuse cases. Mr. Farrell. Faith pulled up a chair. I'm DA Logan. I'll be prosecuting this case personally. I need to ask you some questions about your wife's involvement. Mitch told him about the phone call. Faith and Butler exchanged glances. Did she admit to knowledge of the abuse? Faith asked. She admitted to knowing Dwight was being locked in the basement. She claimed she didn't know the extent, but she had to hear him crying. She had to smell it. She walked past that padlock every single day. That might be enough for negligent child abuse. Failure to protect. We're bringing her in for questioning. Faith leaned forward. Mr. Farrell, I need to be clear. This case is going to be complicated. Your wife may cut a deal, testify against Carlton Mercer in exchange for reduced charges. That's how these things often work. No deals. It's not your decision. I said no deals. Mitch's voice was quiet, but Faith recognized the tone. She'd heard it before from other veterans who'd learned that sometimes justice and law weren't the same thing. Mr. Farrell, you find Carlton Mercer. You charge them both. You put them in prison where they belong. And if the system can't do that, he looked at his son, tubes running from his small arms. Then I will. That sounds like a threat. It's a promise, ma'am. Faith stood. Don't do anything stupid. You have a son who needs his father. Don't throw your life away on revenge. After they left, Mitch made a phone call. In? It's Mitch. I need your help. And I need you not to ask questions. Anything, brother. What do you need? I need to find someone. Fast. And I need information the police won't give me. Ian Ewing had left the Rangers, but he'd kept his contacts. Within 2 hours, Mitch had Carlton Mercer's full life story spread across his laptop in the hospital cafeteria. Born Carlton James Mercer, 38 years old, grew up in Kent, Washington. Father unknown. Mother was an addict who died when he was 15. Bounced through foster care. Juvenile record sealed, but Ian's contacts suggested violence even then. Adult record was more interesting. 3 assault charges, all dismissed or pled down. 2 restraining orders from ex-girlfriends, both dropped when the women moved out of state. A pattern of predatory behavior, always choosing vulnerable women with children. He'd moved in with 4 different single mothers over the past decade. Child Protective Services had been called twice, but investigations went nowhere. Carlton worked as a personal trainer at a gym called Iron Temple in Tacoma. Drove the Dodge Charger under a loan that was 3 months delinquent. Lived off the women he moved in with, contributing nothing, slowly taking control. A predator, and the system had let him keep hunting. Mitch made another call. Ian, I need one more thing. Can you get me an address? Carlton Mercer's family. Anyone he might run to. Mitch, what are you planning? I'm planning to make sure my son gets justice. That's not what I asked. I know. Ian sighed. He has an uncle, Guy Mercer. Runs a chop shop in Fife. Known fence, probably moves stolen goods. Address is 4521 Pacific Highway. But Mitch, be smart. You got a kid who needs you. That's exactly why I'm doing this. That night, while Dwight slept under hospital guard, Mitch left. He told the nurses he needed to get clothes from home. Instead, he drove to the storage unit, collected the rest of his gear, and headed south on I-5. The chop shop was exactly what Mitch expected. Razor wire cameras, guard dogs, the kind of place that screamed illegal operations. But Mitch had infiltrated Taliban compounds. A chop shop in Fife was amateur hour. He went in through the back, moving through shadows like he'd been taught. The dogs never barked. Mitch had brought treats laced with sedatives. The cameras had blind spots. And Guy Mercer sat in his office counting money, completely unaware that death had entered his building. Mitch pressed the Glock against the back of Guy's head. Don't move. Don't yell. Just answer questions. Who the fuck? Where's Carlton? Guy froze. I don't know any Carlton. Mitch pressed harder. Your nephew. Carlton James Mercer. He tortured my son. The police want him. I want him more. Where is he? Man, I don't know. He called me 2 days ago, asking for money. I told him no. Haven't heard from him since. You're lying. I swear. Look, whatever Carlton did, I got nothing to do with it. We're not close. He's a fuck-up, always has been. I don't shelter him. Mitch searched the office. Found his cell phone in the desk drawer. Not Guy's personal phone, a burner. He checked recent calls. One number appeared multiple times. Seattle, area code. Who's this? Guy glanced at it. Look, man, Carlton called from that number. Said he needed somewhere to lay low. I told him about a place. Where? There's a motel. Off Highway 99. The Sunset Motor Inn. It's a shithole. No questions asked, cash only. That's all I know, I swear. Mitch believed him. He also took Guy's phone, his cash, and shot out 2 of his security monitors on the way out. A message: cooperate with people looking for Carlton or expect more visits. The Sunset Motor Inn was exactly as advertised. A shithole. 20 units, half occupied by people who didn't want to be found. Mitch parked 2 blocks away and approached on foot. Carlton's black Charger sat in front of Unit 7, custom rims catching streetlight. Mitch checked his Glock, then approached the door. Chapter 4, The Hunt. Unit 7's curtains were drawn, but light leaked around the edges. Inside, Mitch could hear television, some late-night talk show, kin laughter echoing off cheap walls. He tried the knob. Locked. Of course. He could kick it in. Ranger training made him more than capable. But this wasn't a combat zone, and he needed Carlton alive to answer questions. Needed to understand how deep this went. If Cheryl was truly complicit or just negligent. If others had known and stayed silent. He needed information before he delivered justice. Mitch knocked. Pizza delivery. Movement inside. The television volume dropped. Didn't order pizza. Says here Unit 7, prepaid. Want me to take it back? A pause. Then locks clicking. The door cracked open, chain still engaged. Carlton's eye appeared in the gap, bloodshot and paranoid. Then wide with recognition. Fuck. Mitch hit the door with his shoulder. The chain ripped from its mooring. Carlton stumbled backward, and Mitch was inside with the door kicked shut before Carlton could scream. Don't. Mitch had the Glock out. Don't make a sound. Sit down. Carlton collapsed onto the bed, hands raised. Look, man, whatever Cheryl told you, she's lying. I didn't do anything wrong. The kid needed discipline. You military guys should understand that. Understand chaining a 7-year-old in a basement. Mitch's voice was dead calm. The same tone he'd used before eliminating targets in Kandahar. Understand starving him? Making him drink poison? He was fine. Dramatic little shit was playing it up for attention. Kids do that. My foster parents used to. I don't care about your childhood. Then you don't understand. Carlton's voice rose. You don't understand what it's like to be unwanted. To be thrown away. That kid had everything. A home, a mother, you sending money from overseas. He was soft. Spoiled. I was trying to toughen him up. Make him appreciate what he had. By torturing him. By teaching him consequences. Carlton stood up, and Mitch gestured with the gun for him to sit back down. You're never there. Cheryl was overwhelmed. Dwight was out of control, always crying, always whining about his daddy. Someone needed to be the man of the house. You're not a man. You're a predator who targets vulnerable women and abuses their children. Carlton's expression shifted. Less fear, more calculation. You're not going to shoot me. You're a soldier. You follow rules. You'll turn me over to the cops, and I'll get a lawyer. Cheryl will testify I was just being a strict parent. The jury will hear about your PTSD, your violent military background. Maybe they'll wonder if you're projecting, if you're the real danger. Mitch pistol whipped him. Carlton's head snapped sideways, blood arcing from his split lip. He collapsed on the bed, groaning. I'm not here as a soldier. I'm here as a father. Mitch grabbed Carlton by his shirt, lifting him. And you're going to tell me everything. Every detail of what you did to my son. Every moment he suffered. You're going to confess, and I'm going to record it. Fuck you. Mitch hit him again. Then again. Years of combat training, of hand-to-hand fighting, of controlled violence came flooding back. Not rage. That would be sloppy. This was precise. Professional. Breaking a man's while keeping him conscious enough to talk. 10 minutes later, Carlton was crying. Broken nose, shattered teeth, fingers bent at wrong angles. And talking. I locked him down there because he wouldn't shut up. First few weeks, I just used it when he misbehaved. Then Cheryl started working nights, and it was easier to keep him there. Didn't have to deal with him. He cried at first, but then he learned. Got quiet. The poison wasn't real poison. Just scared him. Made him drink rusty water from a bucket. Told him it would kill him if he tried to escape. Keep him compliant. The rats. Carlton laughed through broken teeth. That was his own fault. Left food down there attracted them. I thought it was funny. Little Prince living like a rat. Learning what the real world is like. Mitch's finger tightened on the trigger. One shot. End it now. The world would be better off. But his son was alive. And Dwight needed him free, not in prison. Why? Mitch asked. Why do this to a child? Carlton met his eyes, and Mitch saw something hollow. Something broken beyond repair. Because I could. Because someone finally let me. Because every foster home I lived in, every beating I took, every time I was thrown away, I wanted someone else to feel it. And that kid had everything. So I took it away. Made him feel what I felt. There it was. The truth. Carlton Mercer was irredeemable. Not a man to be rehabilitated. A cancer to be cut out. Mitch stood. Collected the recorded confession from his phone. The police are looking for you. DA Logan has a warrant. They'll find you here tonight. You're turning me in? Eventually. Mitch moved toward the door. But first, you're going to experience something. A teaching moment, like you gave my son. What do you? Mitch closed and locked the door from the inside. Pocketed the key. Checked his watch. 2:47 a.m. In the corner of the room, he noticed the mini fridge unplugged, the heater cranked to maximum. I'm leaving you here. Doors locked from the inside. Windows are painted shut. I checked. You've got water in the bathroom, but no food, no phone. I'm taking yours. No way to call for help. You're going to sit in this room, getting hungrier and thirstier and more desperate, and you're going to understand what you did to my son. You can't. That's kidnapping. False imprisonment. Is it? You rented this room. You're inside it. I'm just leaving. Maybe someone will find you. Maybe not. This place looks like the kind of motel where people mind their business. I'll kick the door down. Mitch smiled without humor. Try it. But I've jammed the mechanism. And if you make too much noise, the manager will call the cops. We're looking for you. So you'll either starve in silence or get arrested trying to escape. Either way, you lose. He left through the window, closing it from outside and jamming it with a screwdriver. Behind him, Carlton started screaming. Mitch walked away. By morning, the screaming would stop. Carlton would conserve energy. Start rationing bathroom water. Experience just a taste of what he'd inflicted. The police would get an anonymous tip in exactly 72 hours. Long enough for Carlton to suffer. Not long enough to die. Mitch drove back to the hospital. In the parking lot, his phone rang. Detective Butler. Mr. Farrell, we need to talk. Your wife is claiming you threatened her. Says you're unstable, dangerous. She's filed for a restraining order. She's trying to deflect from her own culpability. Maybe, but you need to stay away from her. No contact. We're still investigating her involvement, and any interaction could compromise the case. Do you understand? I understand, Detective. Good. Also, we can't locate Carlton Mercer. His uncle claims someone broke into his chop shop, threatened him. You wouldn't know anything about that. I've been at the hospital all night. Check the cameras. I did. They show you leaving for approximately 2 hours. Want to explain where you went? Needed to clear my head. Went for a drive. Butler sighed. Mr. Farrell, I sympathize with your situation. But if you're pursuing vigilante justice, you will go to prison. Your son needs his father. Don't throw that away. My son needs to know his father doesn't let evil people win. Then let the system. The system failed him for months. Now it's my turn. Mitch hung up before Butler could respond. Chapter 5. The Reckoning. 3 days later, Carlton Mercer was discovered in Unit 7 of the Sunset Motor Inn. Dehydrated, delirious, covered in his own filth. He'd lasted longer than expected, drinking water from the toilet tank, trying desperately to break through the door, eventually collapsing in exhaustion. The police arrested him immediately. Carlton tried to claim Mitch had imprisoned him, but the evidence didn't support it. The door had been locked from the inside. The windows, while jammed, showed no signs of external tampering that forensics could prove. And Carlton's own phone records showed him checking into the motel voluntarily. Most damning was the recorded confession Mitch had anonymously sent to Detective Butler. Carlton detailing every act of torture, every moment of cruelty. His own words condemning him. DA Faith Logan held a press conference. "We are charging Carlton James Mercer with attempted murder, felony child abuse, torture, and kidnapping. We are also charging Cheryl Farrell with child endangerment and failure to protect. This case represents a shocking failure of human decency, and we will prosecute to the fullest extent." Mitch watched from the hospital, his son finally awake and aware. Dwight's physical wounds were healing, but the psychological damage would take years. Child psychologist Christy Harvey visited daily, using play therapy and trauma counseling. Slowly, Dwight was opening up about the months of abuse. "Daddy," Dwight's voice was small, hesitant. "Is Carlton gone? Really gone? He's in jail, buddy. He can't hurt you anymore." And Mom, that question broke Mitch's heart. Mom made some bad choices. She didn't protect you like she should have. She knew. Dwight's eyes filled with tears. She came down sometimes, brought food, but she never let me out. She said Carlton was right, that I needed to learn to be quiet, that I was too much trouble. That's not your fault. None of this is your fault. Are you going away again? Never. I'm done with deployments. I'm putting in my discharge papers. From now on, I'm staying right here with you. Dwight's face lit up for the first time since the rescue. Really? You promise? I promise. But keeping that promise meant dealing with the legal aftermath. Cheryl's lawyer was pushing for a plea deal, testimony against Carlton in exchange for probation and counseling. Faith Logan reluctantly recommended accepting it, arguing that a jury might sympathize with a single mother overwhelmed by circumstances. Mitch met with Faith in her office downtown. She was complicit. She knew our son was suffering and did nothing. I agree. But proving beyond reasonable doubt that she actively participated versus negligently failed to act is difficult. Juries are complicated with cases like this. They'll hear about your military deployments, your absences. They'll hear Carlton claim he was disciplining the child, and Cheryl believed him. Reasonable doubt creeps in. So she walks. She gets a year supervised probation, mandatory counseling, permanent loss of custody, and a felony child endangerment conviction on her record. It's not justice, but it's accountability. And Carlton we can bury. Life without parole. The confession you obtained, despite its questionable legality, combined with Dwight's testimony and medical evidence, will guarantee conviction. How was a confession I didn't obtain? Mitch asked innocently. Faith smiled thinly. The confession that mysteriously appeared in my inbox from an anonymous email account using a VPN. That confession. Mr. Farrell, I'm not stupid. I know you found Carlton first. I know that motel room situation wasn't coincidence. And I'm choosing not to investigate too closely because Carlton Mercer deserves everything he's getting. But you're not Batman. You can't keep dispensing vigilante justice. There are consequences. I know. I accept them. Do you? Because Cheryl's lawyer is filing for full custody when she's released from jail, claiming you're violent, unstable, traumatized by military service. They're going to argue that Dwight's better off with a rehabilitated mother than a father with PTSD who breaks into chop shops and imprisons suspects. Mitch's blood ran cold. They can't. They could try. And given your recent activities, they have ammunition. So I need you to be squeaky clean from here on out. Go to therapy. Demonstrate stability. Be the perfect father, because this custody battle is coming, and you need to win it. That night, Mitch lay awake in the hospital chair, watching his son sleep. Dwight's breathing was steady now, the infection's healing, weight slowly returning. But the psychological scars would last forever. Night terrors, trust issues, anxiety, and Cheryl wanted custody? Mitch made a decision. If the legal system wouldn't protect his son, he'd find another way. He called Ian Ewing. I need information on Cheryl's lawyer. Everything. Personal life, professional record, skeletons in closets. Mitch, don't. I'm not going to hurt anyone. But I'm not letting them take my son away from me again. That's not negotiable. You're walking a dangerous line. I crossed that line the day I found Dwight chained in a basement. I'm just playing the game now. Help me or don't, but I'm doing this. Ian sighed. Cheryl's lawyer is Alexander Finley. Big firm downtown, specializes in family law. Reputation as a shark. He's 43, divorced twice, 3 kids he barely sees. Bit of a gambling problem, but nothing prosecutable. Throws money around at the Emerald Queen Casino most weekends. That's a start. The next morning, Mitch did something unexpected. He called Cheryl's lawyer directly. Mr. Finley, this is Mitch Farrell. I understand you're representing my wife in the custody proceedings. Mr. Farrell. Finley's voice was smooth, practiced. I should advise you that any communication should go through. I'm not calling to discuss the case. I'm calling to make an observation. You have 3 children, ages 16, 14, and 11. 2 boys and a girl. You pay child support to 2 different women. And by my calculation, you're 3 months behind on both. Silence. How you treat your own children reflects how you'll fight for others. You've already proven you don't prioritize kids. So before you stand in court and argue that I'm an unfit father, ask yourself if you want me examining your parenting record in front of a judge. Are you threatening me? I'm reminding you that this case involves a child who was tortured. The media is interested. Reporters will investigate everyone involved, including attorneys. They'll ask questions about why you're defending a woman who let her child be abused. They'll look into your background, your finances, your family. Are you sure you want that scrutiny? More silence. Then what do you want? I want you to advise your client to accept the plea deal and drop the custody fight. In return, I don't make your life difficult. That's blackmail. That's reality. You have 72 hours to decide. Mitch hung up. 2 days later, Cheryl's lawyer withdrew from the case. She accepted the plea deal without fighting. And most importantly, she signed over full custody of Dwight to Mitch without contest. Detective Butler called that afternoon. What did you do? I had a conversation. Finley won't say, but he dropped Cheryl like she was radioactive. You leveraged something. I reminded him about priorities. Farrell, you're playing with fire. One misstep and my son stays with me. That's all that matters. Butler was quiet for a moment. Carlton's trial is set for 3 months. Will Dwight be ready to testify? We'll prepare him. With therapist support, closed courtroom. He wants to do it. Says Carlton needs to pay. Kid's braver than most adults I know. He gets that from you. He gets that from surviving hell. I just gave him the tools to keep surviving. Chapter 6. The Trial. 3 months later, Mitch walked into King County Superior Court holding his son's hand. Dwight wore a new suit that almost made him look like a normal 8-year-old. Almost. But the shadows under his eyes, the way he flinched at loud noises, the white-knuckle grip on Mitch's hand, those told the real story. Carlton Mercer sat at the defense table, flanked by a public defender who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Carlton had lost weight in jail, the gym rat billed withering. Prison hadn't been kind to accused child abusers. Protective custody could only do so much when word got out what you'd done. The prosecution's case was overwhelming. Medical evidence showed months of abuse. Photographs of the basement, the chains, the rat droppings. Dwight's testimony, delivered via closed-circuit television so he didn't have to face Carlton, was devastating in its simplicity. He said I was bad. That daddy left because I was bad. That if I was quiet and good, maybe daddy would come home. But I couldn't be good enough. So he locked me in the dark. And the rats came. The jury watched in silence, several crying openly. The defense tried to argue Carlton had been attempting to discipline an out-of-control child with developmental issues. They brought in a psychologist who testified about strict parenting techniques, about how some children required firm boundaries. DA Faith Logan destroyed them on cross-examination. Doctor, does firm boundaries include chaining a child to a pipe? Making them drink contaminated water? Leaving them to be bitten by rats? Well, no, of course not. Then what's your point? Because this isn't about discipline. This is about torture. The defense's case collapsed when they tried to introduce evidence about Mitch's military service, suggesting his PTSD and violent training made him an unreliable witness. Faith objected immediately, and the judge sustained it. Carlton's recorded confession, the one Mitch had obtained illegally, was ruled inadmissible due to chain of custody issues, but it didn't matter. The physical evidence alone was damning. Carlton's uncle, Guy Mercer, testified for the prosecution after being offered immunity. Carlton called me, bragging about how he'd broken the kid's spirit. Said it was easy, that the mom didn't care as long as Carlton kept the kid quiet. He enjoyed it. That's what scared me. He wasn't disciplining. He was hurting someone weaker because he could. The jury deliberated for 90 minutes. Guilty on all counts. Sentencing came 2 weeks later. Judge Ronald Scott had a reputation as tough but fair. He'd seen countless child abuse cases, but this one clearly affected him. Mr. Mercer, in my 30 years on the bench, I have never seen such calculated, sustained cruelty against a child. You tortured Dwight Farrell not out of misguided discipline, but because you enjoyed wielding power over someone helpless. You are a danger to society, particularly to children. Carlton started to speak, but his lawyer silenced him. I am sentencing you to life imprisonment without possibility of parole. You will spend the rest of your natural life in the Washington State Penitentiary. I hope you use that time to contemplate the suffering you inflicted on an innocent child. Carlton exploded. That kid deserved it. Spoiled little shit. His father abandons him. His mother doesn't want him. And I'm the bad guy for teaching him reality. 3 bailiffs wrestled him down. As they dragged Carlton out, he locked eyes with Mitch. You think you won? You ruined your own life, too. Military reject, playing daddy. That kid's damaged goods now, just like his broken father. Mitch didn't react, just held Dwight closer. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Faith Logan handled most questions, but one reporter addressed Mitch directly. Mr. Farrell, some people are calling you a hero for rescuing your son and bringing justice. How do you respond? I'm not a hero. I'm a father who came home. The real hero is my son, who survived hell and found the courage to speak about it. That's bravery. What's next for you and Dwight? Healing. Therapy. Building a life where he feels safe. That's all that matters now. But that wasn't entirely true. That night, after Dwight finally fell asleep, still plagued by nightmares, but improving, Mitch received a call from an unknown number. Mr. Farrell? This is William Case. I'm an attorney representing Cheryl Farrell. She already gave up custody. What more could she want? Mrs. Farrell is filing for visitation rights. Supervised, minimal, but she wants to be part of her son's life. No, legally, she has rights. She completed her probation terms, attended counseling. The court may grant supervised visitation. She let him be tortured. She walked past that basement door every day knowing he was suffering, and now she wants to play mother. That's not my decision, Mr. Farrell. I'm simply informing you that we're filing the motion. You'll have opportunity to contest it in family court. Mitch hung up. He stared at his phone, feeling the familiar cold rage building. Carlton was in prison, but the damage he'd caused kept spreading. Cheryl was trying to worm her way back into Dwight's life. And the legal system, the same one that had failed his son for months, was going to give her that chance. No, this wasn't over yet. Chapter 7. The Confrontation. Mitch found Cheryl at her new apartment in Renton, a studio above a Vietnamese restaurant, paid for by her parents who'd moved back to Washington after learning about the abuse. They'd been horrified, claiming they'd known nothing about Carlton's treatment of Dwight. Mitch half believed them. They'd always been distant, self-absorbed, willfully blind to problems in their daughter's life. He knocked. Cheryl answered wearing yoga pants and an old Seahawks hoodie. One that used to be his, he realized. Her hair was tied back, face free of makeup. She looked older, worn down, but not broken, not guilty enough. Mitch, you can't be here. The restraining order expired after the trial. We need to talk about your visitation motion. She hesitated, then stepped aside. The apartment was sparse, secondhand furniture, clothes folded on a chair, dishes drying by the sink. On the wall hung a single picture, Dwight before the abuse, smiling at a birthday party. I miss him, Cheryl said quietly. I know I don't deserve to see him, but he's my son too. You forfeited that right. I made mistakes. You let Carlton torture our child. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. Cheryl's face crumpled. I know, okay? I live with that every day. But I was overwhelmed, exhausted. Carlton seemed so helpful at first. When he started disciplining Dwight harshly, I thought maybe I was too soft. Maybe that's why Dwight was so difficult. So you let it escalate. I didn't know it was that bad. The basement was supposed to be timeouts. Short periods. I worked nights, so I wasn't always there when. You had the key to the padlock, Mitch interrupted. You locked it yourself. Don't pretend Carlton acted alone. Cheryl went silent. That's what I thought. Mitch moved toward the door. I came here to tell you in person. Stay away from Dwight. He doesn't want to see you. He has nightmares about you standing at the top of the basement stairs, listening to him cry, and walking away. Your visitation motion will fail because Dwight will tell the judge he doesn't want to see you. He's 8 years old. He doesn't understand. He understands that you chose Carlton over him, that you prioritize your relationship over his safety. That's enough. I'm his mother. You gave up that title when you let him suffer. Biology doesn't make you a mother. Protecting your child does. And you failed. Mitch left before she could respond. But as he reached his truck, Cheryl appeared in the doorway. You think you're so perfect? You abandoned us for the army. Years of deployments, leaving me alone to raise a child I never wanted in the first place. Mitch froze. Turned. What did you say? Cheryl's face was red, tears streaming. I didn't want a baby. I told you that when I got pregnant. But you insisted, said we'd make it work, that you'd be there. Then you left. Deployment after deployment. And I was stuck with a kid who reminded me every day of the life I gave up. So you resented Dwight. I resented you. She stepped out of the apartment. You got to be the hero, serving your country, while I changed diapers and dealt with tantrums and gave up my career and my freedom. So yes, when Carlton came along and offered to help, I let him. And when he went too far, I didn't stop it because... She stopped, realized what she was about to say. Because what? Mitch's voice was ice. Say it. Because some part of me wanted Dwight gone, Cheryl whispered. Not dead. Never dead. But gone. Somewhere else. With you, with my parents, just not my responsibility anymore. And Carlton made that happen. He took Dwight off my hands. And I let him because I was tired of being a mother. There it was. The truth. Not negligence. Not being overwhelmed. Actual malice. Actual desire to be rid of her own child. You're a monster, Mitch said quietly. I'm honest. Which is more than you can say. You're so worried about Dwight, but what about you? You left us. You chose war over family. You only care now because you feel guilty. I left to serve my country. You let our son be tortured because you were selfish. We're not the same. Mitch got in his truck, started the engine. Cheryl banged on the window. You can't keep him from me. I have rights. The court will. The court will hear exactly what you just said. Every word. Because I recorded it. Cheryl's face went white. Mitch held up his phone, the recording app still running. You can't use that. Washington is a two-party consent state. That recording is illegal. For criminal prosecution, yes. But family court has different rules. And judges tend to frown on mothers admitting they wanted their children gone. Your visitation motion is dead. Accept it. He drove away, leaving Cheryl screaming in the parking lot. That recording went to Faith Logan the next day, along with Mitch's attorney who was handling the custody case. 2 weeks later, Cheryl's visitation motion was denied. The judge ruled that any contact would be detrimental to the child's psychological recovery and well-being. Dwight cried when he heard, not from sadness, but relief. I don't have to see her. Never. Not until you're 18 and can decide for yourself. I won't want to then either. Mitch believed him, but the victory felt hollow. Because late at night, when Dwight's nightmares woke him screaming about rats and darkness and his mother's voice saying be quiet, Mitch understood that Carlton and Cheryl's damage would last forever. Justice had been served legally. Carlton was in prison. Cheryl was out of their lives. But the real damage couldn't be locked away or divorced from. Chapter 8. The Healing. 6 months after the trial, Mitch and Dwight moved into a small house in Olympia, far enough from Federal Way to feel like a fresh start, close enough to Seattle for medical appointments and therapy. It was a modest place, 2 bedrooms, a yard with a fence where Dwight could play safely. The first thing Dwight asked for was a dog. I want a big one, Dwight explained to the shelter volunteer. One that's strong and brave. One that won't let anyone hurt us. They adopted Max, a German Shepherd mix with a gentle disposition despite his intimidating size. Max slept in Dwight's room, a living alarm system and emotional support animal in one. Therapy continued 3 times a week. Christy Harvey reported steady progress. Dwight was learning to process the trauma, to understand that what happened wasn't his fault, that he was safe now. But he still had night terrors, still flinched at basements and locked doors, still asked constantly if Mitch was leaving. Never, Mitch promised each time. I'm done with deployments. My only mission now is being your dad. True to his word, Mitch had submitted his discharge papers. The Army had granted them immediately. His service record was exemplary, and his situation warranted compassionate release. Now he worked security consulting for a private firm, boring paperwork and risk assessments that he could do from home. The pay was less, but stability was worth more than money. Life developed a rhythm. School drop-offs and pickups, therapy sessions, homework at the kitchen table, dog walks, weekend hikes in the Cascades. Slowly, carefully, Mitch was building the childhood Dwight deserved. But shadows lingered. One afternoon, Mitch received an unexpected call. Detective Antonio Butler. Farrell? Need to inform you of something. Carlton Mercer was attacked in prison. Shanked to the ribs. He's in critical condition at the prison hospital. Mitch felt nothing. No satisfaction. No guilt. Just empty acknowledgement. He going to survive? Probably. But he's terrified. Other inmates learn what he did. Child abusers don't fare well in general population, even in protective custody. Word finds a way. That's not my problem. No, but he's claiming you arranged it. Says you have connections on the inside, that you ordered a hit. That's ridiculous. I know, but I had to ask. Did you? No, detective. I don't need to arrange anything. Prison has its own justice system for people like Carlton. Lit work. Butler paused. You've changed. When you first came back from deployment, you were angry but controlled. Now you're just cold. I learned that anger is a waste of energy. Cold efficiency gets results. That's what worries me. After the call, Mitch sat on his back porch, watching Dwight and Max play in the yard. His son was laughing, a sound that had been absent for so long it felt like a miracle. But Mitch knew the truth. He'd changed. The system had failed his son, and Mitch had been forced to step outside it to deliver justice. He crossed lines he could never uncross. That night, after tucking Dwight in, Mitch found an envelope under his door. No address, no postage, hand-delivered. Inside was a single newspaper clipping from the Tacoma News-Tribune. Local man arrested in chop shop raid. The article detailed how Guy Mercer's operation had been busted by federal agents. Anonymous tips had led to evidence of trafficking stolen vehicles across state lines. Guy was facing 20 years in federal prison. Attached was a handwritten note. Funny how karma works. A friend. Mitch smiled. He hadn't forgotten about Guy's role in sheltering Carlton. Apparently, neither had someone else. Perhaps Ian had called in favors. Or perhaps the universe occasionally got it right. The next morning, Mitch received a call from Faith Logan. Wanted to give you an update. Cheryl Farrell violated her probation. Got arrested for DUI last week. She'll be serving out the rest of her sentence, about 8 months. Then mandatory rehab. How's this affect custody? Doesn't. You have full permanent custody. This just ensures she won't be filing any more motions for a while. Woman's self-destructing. After hanging up, Mitch felt something unexpected. Pity. Not forgiveness. Never forgiveness. But pity for someone so broken they destroyed everyone around them, including themselves. That evening, Dwight asked a question Mitch had been dreading. Dad, why did Mom let Carlton hurt me? Mitch put down the dishes he was washing. Sat beside his son at the kitchen table. Max immediately came over, resting his head on Dwight's lap. Your mom was broken in ways we didn't see. She made terrible choices. Unforgivable choices. But that's on her, not you. You didn't deserve any of what happened. You were a good kid who deserved protection, and the adults in your life failed you. Except you. I failed you too. I wasn't here. I should have seen the signs before I deployed. Should have made sure you were safe. But you came back. You saved me. That's my job. That's what fathers do. Dwight was quiet for a moment. Then, when I grow up, I want to be like you. Strong and brave. Someone who protects people. Mitch's throat tightened. You're already braver than me, buddy. You survived hell, and you're still here, still fighting. That takes more courage than anything I've ever done. Will the nightmares stop? Christy says they will. Eventually. It takes time. How much time? However long it takes. And I'll be here through all of it. Dwight hugged him then, and Mitch held on tight, feeling his son's heartbeat, alive and safe. It was enough. Had to be enough. Chapter 9. The Reckoning. 2 years later, Mitch stood in the yard of their Olympia home, watching Dwight, now 10 years old, practice baseball with his little league team. The boy had filled out, grown stronger. The haunted look in his eyes had faded, replaced by something resembling normalcy. Not completely healed, but healing. It was the best outcome they could hope for. Max, graying now, but still protective, lay at Mitch's feet. Life had settled into something sustainable. Dwight excelled in school, made friends carefully but genuinely. Therapy continued, but only once a month now. The nightmares had decreased to once or twice a week instead of nightly. Mitch's phone buzzed. Unknown number. He almost ignored it, but something made him answer. Mr. Farrell? A woman's voice, professional. This is Pamela Lowe. I'm a victim's advocate with the Washington State Department of Corrections. I'm calling about Carlton Mercer. Mitch's blood chilled. What about him? He was attacked again yesterday, this time by multiple inmates. He's in critical condition. The warden wanted you to be informed because, well, he's not expected to survive. He's asking to speak with you. No. Mr. Farrell, I understand this is difficult, but he claims he has information about other victims. Children he's hurt before. The FBI is involved, but he'll only talk to you. Mitch closed his eyes. Of course. Even dying, Carlton wanted to manipulate to maintain control. I'm not interested in his final words. What about the other families? The children who might get closure? That was the hook. The one thing Mitch couldn't ignore. Give me the details. 3 days later, Mitch walked into the maximum security hospital wing of the Washington State Penitentiary. Carlton lay in a hospital bed, shackled despite being barely able to move. Prison had destroyed him. The gym rat build was gone, replaced by a skeletal frame. His face bore scars from multiple beatings. One eye was swollen shut. He smiled when he saw Mitch. Broken teeth, but still that predatory grin. You came. I'm here for the other victims. Talk. Straight to business. That's what I always liked about you, Farrell. No bullshit. Carlton coughed, blood speckling his lips. For other women. For other families. Before Cheryl. Same pattern. Move in, establish control, hurt the kids. Never left evidence. Parents were always too scared or compliant to report. Names. Carlton rattled off 4 names. Mitch recorded everything. Locations, dates, details about the abuse. Each story was a variation of Dwight's nightmare. Different methods. Same sadistic pleasure in torturing children. Why tell me this now? Mitch asked. Because I'm dying. Because those families deserve to know it wasn't their fault. That I was always the monster. Carlton's smile faded. And because I want you to understand something. I don't care what you're just like me. Mitch went still. You torture people too, Carlton continued. Maybe not physically, but you destroyed Cheryl's life. Got her arrested, took away her kid, made sure she'd never recover. You ruined my uncle's business. Got him sent to federal prison. You locked me in that motel room and left me to suffer. You think you're the hero, but you're just another man using violence to get what he wants. I protected my son by becoming exactly what you hate. A man who hurts people. Carlton coughed again, weaker. 10 years from now, Dwight's going to realize his father is a monster too. Different kind than me, but still a monster. And he'll never trust anyone again. I didn't just break that kid, Farrell. I broke you too. Mitch stood. You're wrong. Everything I did to protect the innocent and punish the guilty. That's justice. Keep telling yourself that. Carlton's eye closed. But when you lie awake at night, wondering if you've gone too far, remember, I'm the one who showed you how far you could go. I'm the one who made you cross those lines. Mitch left without another word. Carlton Mercer died 2 hours later, alone and unmourned. The FBI investigated the 4 other families, found evidence corroborating Carlton's confessions. For more children were identified as victims, for more families got answers. The closure they've been denied for years. Mitch attended each family meeting as they were notified, watched parents cry, rage, collapse under the weight of guilt they'd carried. Some thanked him for getting the truth. Others blamed him for not finding Carlton sooner. He accepted both. On the drive back to Olympia after the last meeting, Mitch called Ian Ewing. "Carlton's dead. Heard. How you feeling?" "Empty. You try to convince me I'm just like him. That I'm a monster too." Ian was quiet for a moment. "Are you?" "I don't know. I crossed lines. Threatened people. Manipulated the system. Let Carlton suffer. Did things I never thought I'd do. For your son. Everything you did was to protect Dwight and get justice for what happened to him. Carlton tortured children for pleasure. There's a difference. Is there? Once you start justifying violence, where does it stop? It stops when you decide it stops. You made choices, brother. Dark choices. But you made them with your eyes open, accepting the consequences. That's not being a monster. That's being human in an impossible situation." Mitch wanted to believe that. He arrived home to find Dwight and Max waiting on the porch. His son looked worried. "Is everything okay, Dad? You were gone a long time." "Everything's fine." Mitch pulled Dwight into a hug. "Better than fine. Carlton's gone. Really gone this time. He can't hurt anyone ever again." "Good." Dwight pulled back. "I'm glad he's dead. Does that make me bad?" "No. It makes you human. He hurt you. It's okay to be glad he's gone." "Are you glad?" Mitch thought about that. About Carlton's dying words. About the lines he'd crossed and whether he'd become something he shouldn't have. Then he looked at his son. Alive, healing, safe. Growing into a strong, compassionate kid despite everything. "Yeah, buddy. I'm glad." That night, after Dwight went to bed, Mitch pulled out a journal he'd been keeping since the rescue. Page after page of his own therapy, processing the trauma and choices and consequences. His therapist had suggested it, a way to confront the darkness instead of burying it. He wrote one final entry. "Carlton was right about one thing. I changed. I became harder, colder, willing to cross moral lines I once considered sacred. But he was wrong about why. I didn't become a monster. I became a father willing to do whatever necessary to protect his son. If that's monstrous, I accept it. Dwight is thriving. That's what matters. He's safe, loved, and healing. Yes, there are scars on him and on me. But we're facing them together, building something better from the ruins. Carlton wanted to break us. Instead, he made us stronger. Made me understand that sometimes the system fails, and good people have to make hard choices. I'll carry the weight of those choices forever. But I'll also carry the weight of my son in my arms, alive and safe, and know I made the right decisions. Justice was served, legally and otherwise. Carlton is dead. Cheryl is out of our lives. The other victims have closure. My son has a future. That's enough. It has to be enough." Mitch closed the journal. Outside, an owl hooted in the darkness. Max stirred from his spot by Dwight's door, came padding over to rest his head on Mitch's knee. "We did it, boy," Mitch whispered. "We kept him safe." Max's tail thumped once in agreement. In his room, Dwight slept peacefully. No nightmares tonight. Just the deep, restful sleep of a child who knows he's protected. Who knows his father would walk through hell itself to keep him safe. And Mitch had, literally and figuratively. He descended into darkness, crossed lines, become something harder and more ruthless than the soldier he'd been. But his son was safe. That was the mission, the only mission that mattered. In the end, that's all any father could do. Stand between his children and the darkness, no matter the cost to himself. Mitch Farrell had done exactly that, and he'd do it again without hesitation.
This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your precious time. If you enjoyed this story, then please make sure you subscribe to this channel. That would help me a lot. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.